It feels great to be here. Thank you guys for taking some time to get here today. And I mean, Juan, this is a different episode for us because we've got a guest for the first time. So it feels good. I'm excited. We got Danny here, an illustrious guest nonetheless. $15 million company, townhouse, director of operations, right? And so I'm curious to know about your journey, what it's like, maybe a day to day, fill me in on those aspects for you.
Okay. So thank you for guys for having me. It's a pleasure being here. Um, so my journey, it's it's been I just been going with feeling, gut feeling. I I couldn't say that I had a plan. Um, so I just did what I felt that I would like to do. I tried a lot of things, right? So I went to school for accounting. Um, as I was in school, I was a busboy uh, at Outback, and then there was a hotel right next to the Outback, and I started working there as front desk, um, and then stood in hotels for years. Actually, it was about almost 15 years in hotels. Started front desk and all the way up to being a general manager, and then actually building out hotels, doing the construction side. Um, Got close with ownership to the point that I even started my own hospitality company and had two properties under that. Um, and it was just, I just always like to stay busy and learn new things, right?
Right, right.
So when it came to my to where I am now, I wanted to explore something out of the hotel industry.
Okay.
My background's hospitality, so in hospitality, you pretty much can apply that to literally anything. So I got into property management with Tishman Speyer. I was with them for about 2 years, and what they did was they hired me to lead and spearhead their first restaurant concept,
Okay.
and that was really huge because it's a billion-dollar company. Um, and I was hired there to put it all together,
Right.
from the construction side to putting the operations together, and then on top of that, in the middle of COVID. So
Mm.
it's a pretty crazy experience,
Yeah.
going through all that, and then activating the place. But then once we were activated, I was like, all right, what's the next big thing,
Okay.
With townhouse, with the well, when I got to before I got the townhouse, I was at that point where I didn't know what I wanted to do. And still, I knew I had a lot of experience that I had gained throughout my years of my career,
Sure.
but I wanted to really make a difference and impact people at a more closer level.
Okay.
And it's a little difficult, especially coming from a big corporate environment, to get
Okay.
anything accomplished. Right, you got to go through so many hurdles if you want to make a decision or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I said, how can I how can I make a bigger impact in an organization? And it really is in the smaller organizations where you don't have those hoops to do.
Okay.
So I made the jump, and I decided, you know what, from a billion-dollar company, I'm going to go to this million-dollar company, and work directly with ownership. And I've been there for about 2 years now, and it was the best decision I ever made, because
Nice.
being able to revamp an entire operations, and from what you know to what it is now, it's an amazing feeling to see that flourish. To see it happen. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's where I am now. It's great because there's a team that's been there for over 20 years, and their retention is crazy.
Yeah.
So being able to bring them from not having really a structure to creating that structure, it's an amazing feeling. So now, like, I hear the conversations that they have. They're having they have like things on their schedule, which they're using a calendar, which they never did before. Everything was just,
Wow.
you know,
You brought organization.
brought organization to it. So seeing that and where we're going now is pretty. It's a really good feeling because the vision I have really is for them. For the
Yeah.
company to keep on growing, and here we are. 2 years in, and I love my job, and it's a great feeling.
The common word I heard you use, feeling. And I love that because what that comes down to is that you're trusting the feeling. That's your compass, which is that's going to drive your thoughts. And as you continue to go and you kept following that feeling and you kept producing these thoughts, that's what generated the action in your life. Even what you said, that you went from going to be an accountant, right, in college, which then at that next juncture, that's not what you are. You say that you were a busboy during that time, and just by coincidence now there's a hotel that now you go work the hotel, which goes to show you that so often we think that life, we have this plan and we're gonna go do this road and this is the way it is, but instead you went to front desk, and I'm sure you climbed every single job positioning and you learned the business inside out, which then took you to being the general manager of a hotel. From my personal experience, I look at that as the general manager of a restaurant, where you learn all the systems, all the processes, all the procedures, all the practices. And from all that learning, you said, all right, now I'm done managing a building, and you're saying, I'm going to go to that next level. I'm going to manage buildings. When you went to Tishman Spire, now you're working on projects for $1 billion company who knows how massive. And then to go and create a restaurant concept, and all from following a feeling. And every single time you made a decision was following that feeling. But what I love is the way you're able to go into something, learn it, and then go apply it somewhere else. Because now you went from $1 billion company to then go downsize on the magnitude of the company, because now you're coming here with all this experience from all these systems that are being put in a $1 billion company, the way they process, where the advantages, where the disadvantages, and everything that you saw and you absorbed. Now you're gonna go and then you come down to Townhouse, and you're literally now revamping all their systems and practices, procedures, every single thing about how they work. Something else powerful you even said when you spoke about the calendar. So often people waste time. And here you are making sure that all the time is being used effectively. And the way you must have organized that company compared to what they had before, because you said that they have a 20-year retention. And then you were the new blood. You were, hey, listen, I came out, I have these life experiences, and now I'm here to bring everything I've learned on my journey, and I'm here to integrate it into what you guys have here. So I'm sure that it went so much bigger than just a calendar. I'm sure you went to just the way they do payroll, to the way that they organize, how they communicate with employees. I'm sure there was even internal pieces that they were missing that you were able to see because you went from such a bigger model. And then just to go and be able to implement all that learning to them. And to become family. What kind of human being are you that someone's going to go and give you that type of, I don't want to use the word control, because it's definitely not control. It's just to be able to add value to a company, to be trusted with that.
That's a big word there, trust. And I had to gain that in the beginning. Anyone coming in to a new company and in that position, especially coming from corporate, I had to gain their trust. They weren't, they were fearing if they weren't going to be able to keep up, or they're going to lose their job. So my big thing was I need to learn them first before I could make any decisions or implement new systems. And I think that was definitely the most important thing for me to do, is to make them feel comfortable that I want to learn about you. This is an industry I've never been in. So teach me what you know, and then everything that I've learned, I'm going to try to make adjustments to make your life easier. And at the end of the day, it's really coaching, instead of being a manager. You want to coach people and give them insights on different ways of doing things. And you could put the idea out there, and then it's up to them to try it out. And whether it works for them or not, at least it's there subconsciously. It's in there, So my thing was to provide as much information as I can, but at the same time learning about them.
And I'd love to know, how was that feeling for you, like making that decision to finally take that leap from one company to another?
That's a great question. So honestly, it was very difficult for me
Okay.
because I was so consumed in my previous job that I lost touch of myself. I felt like I was always just going in there. I felt like a robot. And in corporate settings, from my experience, you tend to forget what got you there. And it always feels like you're interviewing every single day you go into work.
Really?
So, a big thing that helped me make that change, or made me, get more in tune with myself, was conversations with Juan. He reminded me of why or how I got to where I got to at that position.
Right.
And, I started, us having that conversation, I started working on my resume. And as I'm working on my resume, sorry.
No worries.
As I'm working on my resume, I am, I'm reading from the beginning how I got to where I am now, and it reminded me. I was like, shit, like you did this. This is why you're here.
Right.
And a big thing was that I needed to give a percentage of my time to focus on myself versus doing 100% just at work. And to a lot of people, that might be like, you can't not just give 100% at work because then you won't succeed. But from what helped me make the change is I needed to give enough that some time of my work was on autopilot. And when I was on autopilot, I was also working on myself. And once I realized that I wanted to do more and I was capable of doing more, that's what made me feel comfortable in making that jump. So I made the jump. Of course, I did my homework, going from a company like that to a smaller company. You want to make sure that there's some type of job security. But at the end of the day, if you don't make the jump, you stay, right? And usually what prevents you from making that jump is because you're too much in your head.
Sure.
And it just felt right. It felt like I was ready for that, and that I was able, no matter what happened, I knew I was going to succeed one way or the other, whether
Yeah.
it be in that job or I'd find something else. But that what I tell people is pretty much get out of your head, because those thoughts are always going to go into a negative place. You're always going to start doubting yourself or overthinking, and as you do that, it just creates fear, and then you kind of plateau. You stay where you're at. So go with that feeling.
I love what you said, right? Because first we'll start off with what we did, which was have the dialogue. And when we have conversations, what that does is expands our thinking. The only thing I really did was point out the potential that was inside you. I gave you my perspective to see what different possibilities were out there, because, as people, as we get comfortable in a job environment, or let's say a relationship, family, friends, we get to this place where we stop venturing out to see what's really good for us. And it's that understanding that our next level of expansion is somewhere where we don't know. So what I love is that instead of staying where you knew, you did that jump and you said, hold up, I'm gonna change these thoughts I'm having about the way I'm looking at this new situation. Because oftentimes, because it's a new situation and it's uncertain, right? And that feeling of unease, it makes us, trigger this negative emotion, which creates negative thoughts.
Right.
But the reality is that life is in that new situation. We just have to no longer let that emotion fuel our thoughts, which fuels how we speak. So when we started having the dialogue, the only thing we did was we put that emotion away of the disbelief and the doubt and the fear, and we put at the front who you are, your real potential. And then when you started speaking from that feeling, which goes back to the beginning of the interview, that's when the you again started coming out and said, hold up, I can do this, I can do that, there's possibility here, there's potential over there, and you know what? If I stay here, this is the plan, but now, wow, if I make a shift here, look at all these new possibilities. And which then, when you say belief, that's so powerful. Because what you then said was that because I really believe I'm gonna be a success no matter what, it doesn't, I don't know how I'm gonna get there. The only thing we can all do, right? Because think about what we teach, we become what we believe. Right. The only thing we could do is look back at the journey and tell you how we did it. Yeah. Because that's the reality of it. Like the theme of everybody's journey, everyone's story is that we went through all these things, all these obstacles, challenges, all these hurdles that we jumped. And then all of a sudden we look back and we're like, yo, so this is what happened. And in that very moment, you said, hold up, I'm going back into flow. I'm going back into more discovery. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back into the lands that I don't know and then bring that back to what I know.
Wow, that's fascinating because you weren't here for this week that we were speaking, but we were talking about ladders and how sometimes we're reaching for the next ring on the ladder and we're so focused on trying to get to the next one we forget how far we've came, you know what I mean? And what's so fascinating about you mentioning that is that you had to actually reset yourself, take steps back, like go back down on the ladder to be like, okay, wow, look at this thing that I've created for myself. Now where do I take it? And so I'm fascinated to know throughout the time that you've spent working with Juan and being here, or just in general being in this new environment that you in, what have you added to your knowing now, and what new skill sets have you acquired?
Now, I mean, these past 2 years working with Juan and being side by side with him, I do everything out of love, man. It's my thing is to help as much as I can and listen and be compassionate. And one thing that I admire Juan about is that anything he learns, he gives, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people learn things and they stay with it. It's all about building other people without expecting fruits back, right? A lot of people do things because they want something in return. So I apply that in everything in my life, not just work. I build my team. If I don't have a team that's built, I'm not going to be successful. The company won't be successful, right?
Yeah.
And success to me is having a team, is being able to help each other out, Right. In the rat race, it's about who is getting up front, who's getting the titles, who's getting the more salary. Where what I've learned is, you got to put yourself in there. A lot of these managers and directors that are high up, they don't put themselves with the team. One thing I learned when I worked at hotels, being a general manager, if there was a spill, I wasn't calling housekeeping. If I could clean it up myself, I will.
For sure.
But that says a lot. When your team sees that, you know, they relate to you. You know, it's not where I fear or have you know, certain view of my manager. I have to respect that person. It's more like that's my companion. Like we were co-workers, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I've always had that, but in this environment now I'm applying it to everything, right? I'm being a lot more open. I'm listening. I'm speaking more. You know, I used to have judgment and assume people were a certain way just by certain actions, but everyone's different, you know? And, you know, you what you see in the surface is what they have in the surface, but when you get deep and you make that person feel comfortable, then you really get to know that person, right? Because in the world, in society, everyone feels as if they have to be a certain way to be accepted. And that's the surface. That's what we see, you know? There's just so many different layers to understanding someone. And when you're seeing that person, meeting that person where they are in life, it's crazy how much that person can open up and how much you can learn from that person.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful, right? Because a lot of people use the terms like love, compassion, empathy, kindness, forgiveness, but they use it, you know, and you said something powerful about people and seeing them at a surface level. But the problem is that we as people use those words on a surface level. So what we've been able to develop, and you know, the way this place has, as a collective consciousness, has really evolved, is that when we use those words, we use them with depth. When we say compassion, we really mean that we really want to get rid of the suffering of the other person.
Yeah.
We mean that it's not something that's burden. It's not chore. We do it with joy, because that's what love is. Love is free. Love is when you just give and there is no expectation. You know, a lot of people think that love comes with rules, but the reality is that those loves transactional. That's really codependency. It's the wrong definition of love. You know, it's like, because I do this, I expect this. No, it's like, I do this because this is my heart wants to give.
Right.
So I give to give, you know, and give fearlessly. Because that's another thing. Too many people are afraid to give because there are people out there that they don't reciprocate it. But it's not about the reciprocation. You know, if they haven't, then, you know, feel bad for them, because they haven't yet gotten to that stage of life when they can be okay with giving, to give, you know. Next, let's talk about the word empathy, because that's another thing. You know, people think that empathy is like, oh, I feel what you feel. In order to really feel what someone feels, you have to truly listen. And that means to actively listen. That means not to be thinking about the response that you want to say. It doesn't mean to judge them on their actions. It doesn't mean to talk about righteousness to them. Empathy really means to accept that human being. Meet them where they're at, and then use the right choice of words. Don't go in there with pride, you know, because that's another thing. Pride is weakness. It's actually vulnerability, strength. Go in there vulnerably, you know.
Absolutely.
Share your wound that you've experienced, which makes you understand what they're going through, so that way they can feel heard and understood. And then once you meet them where they're at, then help them get to where they need to go. But obviously, like anything in life, it takes hard work. It takes hard work. Whatever you do in life, it's going to be a challenge. When you're really living, you are being challenged. When you're really alive, it's not easy, especially at the beginning. But then choose to do it from an optimist view, from a positive place. And yes, I know a lot of negative things can happen, but I can tell you, however, you know, a human being is wired to have negative emotions, which negative thoughts and negative actions. And a lot of people miss it when they express those negative words, right? Now you're going to create that. So now I go and talk to someone and I say, hey, you know what? I really doubt our business venture, our business relationship. So now I just, by saying it, right, I could have felt it, but I didn't have to say it. So now I put that thought into that person. So now I create doubt inside that person, because that person might feel strong about our business relationship, but now that person has a doubt. So put those things to the side and keep that positive attitude, that energy. Go in there with charisma. Go in there with energy. Be excited about it. You know, because at the end of the day, by you putting yourself in that feeling that you have it, that's how you get there. You will attract it. And then once you do that hard work, once you go about it the right way, right? Because now then go to that place and not only add to your personal mastery, but make sure that as you add to your personal mastery, you give it out to everybody around you. And that's how you accomplish fulfillment.
Right.
And once you understand that, then you're going to understand how to get results, because results come by your behavior and your conduct. But the key ingredient, it has to be the right motivation. And the beautiful part is what you said. You're getting all these blessings in your life now because your behavior and conduct is human excellence, right? But you have the right motivation, love, compassion, kindness. And as people, we feel that. A lot of people can know things, and a lot of people could have done things, and they can express it to us. But if they don't do it with a feeling, if they don't do it with passion, how does that get transferred? It doesn't.
Yeah. That's so crazy because, you know, I resonate on so many levels with what you're saying as far as like getting personable with the people, really getting to know them, being vulnerable, having them understand that you're there with them, like them seeing you, you know, in my past, in my career in business as well. That was a lot of what was missing towards the latter end of that journey, and that was when I had to leave, when I felt like I was walking into the building and I was being quizzed every time, or it was like I was being interviewed every time, versus like just a year prior it was about this. It was literally like I was tasked to at least once a week try to sit down with everybody on my team and see how their day had went, you know, see what was important with them going on in their life at that moment, you know what I mean? So I could try to meet them halfway and we could have the best, you know, then they can, you know, do their job to the best of their capabilities. And so yeah, I resonate with that on so many levels, and I'm curious to know how right now you're like, what's the next step for you, you know what I mean?
So the next step for me is actually to get better at understanding people. And you have to understand, like, people go through things, and you can't always expect. You could have a great day, a great conversation with someone, and then the next day, the complete opposite. So it's respecting that person, that, you know, and I mentioned this before about meeting them there, and just not forcing it, because people have to go through the emotions. You know, there's a lot of what I've also learned is that you have to go through emotions. There's people that suppress them and they try to ignore them, and then, you know, have sporadic moments that they just come out, right? Because you never actually went through it. So it's understanding that, you know, things that I've been reading and speaking to Juan, but now also applying it to have even better relationships. You know, what's the next step? It's really just understanding myself more. You know, it's not about money, position, or anything like that. We could do that, right? It's just getting better at understanding myself, and, you know, doing what I can to help as people around me, you know, and to build them, because the more you change people and they have different perspectives, they're going to start doing that to other people in their circle,
Yeah.
right? So then you start seeing that it's just like a continuation. It's
Yeah.
like a domino effect. You know, it's expanding it, doing it for everyone you come across. You know, and when they're ready, some may be ready, some may not be ready. And when they're ready, it'll come back for you. Especially when they feel that energy. If you're in that place, they're gonna come back because they're gonna be curious. What was that? You know,
Yeah.
which is that you don't really see that. You don't in today's society. It's very rare. So when you do have it, they'll come around.
Wow.
I love that, right? Because that's exactly what it is about. You know, it's really coming to mastery within yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the whole purpose. First, you get control of the body, the physical fitness. Then you get control of your thoughts, the mental fitness, right? But the hardest is the emotional fitness. Because the emotional fitness is so powerful that if you don't develop a high level of understanding, and I love what you said about understanding other people and how some days someone could be great and then the next day it's a different conversation, then you automatically become whatever they project. So when you combine all three and you really master all three, then that's where the energetic fitness is born. And it's that energy. See, it's about what you resonate. And we all know the most powerful energy on this earth is love. So when you can hold that emotional state all the time, and by having an understanding of people, it doesn't affect you, right? Now that you're not gonna feel the emotions, but you're gonna know not to feed those emotions, to have those thoughts, because as a man think of, is as a man becomes. You know, that's such that's such a powerful lesson, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that perfect ecosystem within all three, because you need the vitality, you need the focus and concentration, and you need the good quality human energy. And then when you can master that, then you're gonna just radiate that. And the beauty of that is, right, as you're out there in the world and you're shining, right? And we could talk about the sun. The sun lights the world every single day and doesn't ask for anything. The sun just gives. When you become a son unto this world as a human form, and when you're giving, you're not giving for your own advantage, but always for the advantage of the other.
Right.
That's where miracles are born. That's where life exists. That's where it really happens, because the next thing you know, you get people randomly coming up to you, even years later. Like, it's happened to me from all different sorts of time. And it's like, hey, that one time that you stopped to have a conversation with me, or you gave me that little bit of wisdom or that little bit of encouragement, that changed my life. And as a vision, that's what we are doing. By being the best version of ourselves, by modeling human excellence for others, we're giving that change to the world.
Just want to piggyback on that. You just, made me think about something. Before I started coming here, the projection that people had of me was that I was closed off. I was intimidating to speak to. And I never understood it. I'm cool. I'm a cool guy, But I changed my energy. I don't think as much as I used to. And now, people that have known me my whole life, they said, Danny, you changed so much in the past 2 years. And I do see and feel, a lot more people come up to me and they want to have a conversation with me. They're curious, because they feel that energy. Something that Juan mentioned before is that you could be experienced or know what to say or how to, like, you could hit the steps of what you're supposed to do, but if you don't have that energy, it's like it's not really there. So I knew the steps, right? I'm supposed to be this, I'm more smiling more, and I need to be open, listen. But the energy wasn't there because I wasn't open enough. Once I added that energy, I started attracting more people, all shades, all colors, you know, and I spoke to them, I listened to them, and you'd be amazed of, like, I just appreciate how many stories and people's, like, different people that come up to me. I just want to hear them more and more, you know. So I'm really happy that I made that change, because now there's just so much more information and so much. My circle has grown a lot more, and it's going to continue growing. So thank you for that, because you've really put me on that path, where I am now, and I feel I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. You know, this we have our times that we get into our head, but it's practicing, not to let those thoughts take over. Right? You gotta get to a place where you don't hold on to those thoughts. You just let them go through you. We're always gonna have thoughts. There's no way that anyone could say that, oh, I'm never gonna have thoughts, I'm never gonna think. And that's not true. Your brain is always going. There's like information coming from every angle. Yeah. But it's just not holding on to them, because the moment you hold on to it, you stopped, right? And you can't continue going. So it's just getting better at that, you know.
It's love. It's love. You know, just to give everyone, you know, something that's gonna really help them with that is this. It's real simple. Don't entertain bad thoughts. Don't entertain them. Not that they don't come, but don't follow that rabbit hole. You know, we all understand what's good and what's bad. So now when you have a bad thought, if you hold on to it, it's gonna make an impulse into your emotion, and then it's gonna cause a negative action. So the simplicity is, if all you see is good, then what's gonna happen in your life is good. But now let me break it down for a system for everyone, and it's just this simple. Bad thought, bad intention, bad outcome. Good thought, good intention, good outcome. But as human beings, we are limitless. The potential, it cannot be described, it cannot be defined. Because in our past, we've had many that have done great things. So don't stop at good. Great thoughts, great intentions, great outcomes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. As I sit here and reflect on what you're saying, I just want to thank you as well, because you're helping me also understand that, like, in this process for myself, I've been able to, number one, it's twofold. Focus on being more compassionate with other people, so loving more, but also in the space of being critical with myself and trying to be the best person that I can be, taking out all the thoughts that I think other people think of me, getting rid of, like, but what are they gonna think of this? What are they gonna think of that? And those things were pivotal for me to try to keep continuing to take these steps forward in the process of developing myself. So I don't know if that's been the same for you, but you know, I'm also curious to know.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're a kid, you know, going to high school, you know, you kind of learn that, right? It's about who's cool, who's not, and
Right.
you people from school to college, you know, you're kind of developed on always trying to be cool or accepted, right? And society is what drives that, you know. You got to get to a point where you just become you, and nothing else matters. Because when you become you, that is when you're your best self, right? People are afraid to be themselves because they think they're going to be judged. I tell you, when I first started coming to the gym, you know, And I would post, friends of mine, very close friends of mine. Oh, you going on vacation? You trying to get a pump before vacation?
Yeah.
You're not gonna stay there. It's just for vacation.
Right.
But I stood, and you could see. So, in the beginning, it was I would get these comments, and the old me, I wouldn't post. I wouldn't post like that. Now I just want to be myself, and now that I'm myself, I feel like I've grown so much more. I know it's not about being cocky or anything like that, or arrogant. It's just that if I were to go by what society wants me to do, I know that I wouldn't be as happy as I am now. And that's being myself.
That right there is so important because that's exactly what it is. It's about being your authentic self. And if you understand the world we live in, the reality is that there is a lot of bad, right? There's a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
Look at the algorithms. That's all they feed you, right? All this negativity, all this manipulation, all these dark thoughts, this and that. But let me also tell you, as much bad as there is, I can tell you with certainty that there is just as much good, if not more. But the understanding is that when you give it all and you give to give, you're not doing it for attention. Good people aren't out here doing good to be recognized, to be validated, to get credit. They're doing good to do good. They're doing good because end of the day, they have the right disposition of the heart. They have the right character. And whatever they've endured, whatever trials they've gone through, whatever it is that they persevered over, whatever hard lessons that keeps building their hearts and their character, because the ultimate thing is that when they go and they say, you do something bad to me and I'm still gonna be good.
Yeah.
We need a lot more people to have more courage to not get pulled in to that. Instead, we need to get pulled into the idea that, no, let me show you what human excellence looks like. Do me a favor. Do it again. You know why? Because whatever you do has no power over me and my heart. I ain't changing. I'm going to continue to be a loving, compassionate, kind man who gives all his wisdom away every day. That every single day I give all my energy out to this world around me.
Yeah.
And instead of being self-absorbed, I'm going to be absorbed into others and help them elevate. Because at the end of the day, as we elevate, all these things, all these thoughts, they all eventually disappear.
Yeah.
It's real simple.
If you do bad to me, do it again. It's not going to change me. When someone's attacking you, right, and they can't break you, they're going to question, like, what is it? Or can they even do it again? Because you didn't react, It's, it kind of like, it bounces back on them. I'm like, wow, what I did not affect this person, They may try again, but at the end, it's going to go back to them. And then they're going to start reevaluating themselves,
Right.
Is it really worth what I'm doing to hurt this other person? It's funny how that works. You remain, it's like twofold. You remain as strong as you can in your own skin and always have a positive outcome for everything. But also, when you do that and people try to do something or harm to you, it also makes them think. It makes them reevaluate themselves. And I've learned that, personally, that, I used to react to things that were being done to me. And the moment you react is when they win. and when you don't react is when things continue to go. It's not about winning. Things continue to flow. And they have this can't touch you anymore, you know? You notice how I said they win and things continue to flow, because it's not about who wins. It's about continuing life, continuing to go with a mutual goal, you know, which is success. And I mean, success is bettering ourselves and humanity. So yeah, I just went deep there, but
No,
it took me to
But that's what
Another-
the synchronicity and the synergy of these conversations are. You know, the beautiful part is when, you know, when we talk about the vision of this place is the healthiest, the happiest, and the most confident supermodels and super leaders in the world. People that model and do the right thing all the time. And then with those actions is to inspire everyone around us. But simply just by being ourselves. Human excellence. The best version of ourselves. And it's not about right and wrong. It's just about doing good. And being that example for others. You know, because that's really what the world is missing. It's missing people who embody values, principles, integrity, altruism. Because that's the real strength. The real strength is doing the work and earning it. You know, everyone's trying to avoid the work. Everyone's trying to avoid earning it. Everyone's trying to avoid responsibility for others. But the reality is, if others aren't our responsibility, then whose? Am I not my brother's keeper? Am I not my sister's keeper? So why, when you look at other human beings come to that place of separation, like they're a foreign country, a foreign world, the reality is when you look at another human being, even if they're not your family, even if they're not your friend or your significant other, right? They're just like you. So when you have an opportunity to have some compassion or give some encouragement, you know, words are powerful. Just a sentence can change someone's life. It's the minimum you could do. And then if by your actions they're able to change your lives just by doing what you do and being you, what more meaning can you ask from life? Because the reality is we're born and we all know what meaning is. Meaning is wherever we make it to be.
An incredibly insightful conversation. Danny, I want to thank you again. Juan, you know, you guys are inspiration to me, and I hope we can be inspiration to everybody else that watches in the future, because we are what we believe.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for
Yo,
having me.
you killed it.
Yeah?
You killed it. Yo, you killed it.
Yeah, it was good. I was actually really good.